This is from verse 31, I've been told.
Chapter 17.
Chapter 17.
Chapter 17.
Right, there we are. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 31. Rajo Vacha Nate Gudakesha Yasho Dharanam Badanjaler Vayam Asti Kinchit Navati Tavyam Bhavata Kathanchanam Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu.
The king thus said, "We have inherited the fame of Arjun. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not to fear for your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are the friend of irreligion."
Text 32. Samvartamanam Naradeva Deveshwa Anupravritto Yam Adharma Puggaha Robonitam Choryam Anaryam Amho Yestacha Maya Kalahascha Dambaha.
If the personality of Kali, irreligion, is allowed to act as a man god or an executive head, certainly irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, impulsivity, jealousy, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, vanity will abound.
Text 33. Navati tavyam tad adharma bandho dharmena satyena cha vati tavye brahmavate yatra yejanti yagne yagneshwaram yagna vitana vignaha.
Therefore, O friend of irreligion, you do not deserve to remain in a place where experts perform sacrifices according to truth and religious principles for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Text 34. Yasmin Harer Bhagavan Ijyamana Ijyatma Murti Yajatam Shamtanoti Kaman Amogan Sthira Jangamanam Antir Bahirvayu Ivaisa Atma.
In all sacrificial ceremonies, although sometimes demigod is worshipped, the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, is worshipped because he is the super soul of everyone and exists both inside and outside like the air. Thus, it is he only who awards all welfare to the worshipper.
Text 35. Sutta Vacha Parikshitevam Adistaha Sakali Jata Vepathu Tam Udyatasim Ahetam Dandapanim Ivodyatam.
Sri Sutta Goswami said, the personality of Kali, thus being ordered by Maharaj Parikshit, began to tremble in fear. Seeing the king before him like Yamaraj, ready to kill him, Kali spoke to the king as follows.
636. Kali Vacha Yatra Kwa Vata Vatsyami Sarvabhauma Tavagnaya Laksaye Tatra Tatrapi Tvam Atesu Sharasanam.
O your majesty, though I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look.
637. Tanme dharma vritam shrestha sthanam nirdestum arhasi yatrava niyato vatsya athistam te nushasanam.
Therefore, O chief amongst the protector of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government.
638. Sutta vacha abhyatitas tada tasme sthanani kalye dadav yutam panam striya suna yatra dharmas chaturvidah.
Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in place where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed.
639. Punascha yacha manaya jata rupam adar prabhu tato nitam madam kamam rajo vairam cha panchamam.
The personality of Kali asked for something more, and because of his begging, the king gave him permission to live where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there is also falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity.
Text 40. Amuni pancha sthanani yadharma prabhava kali autarayena adatani nyavasata nidesha krit.
Thus, the personality of Kali, by the directions of Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, was allowed to live in those 5 places.
Text 41. Athaitani na seveta bubushu purusa kvachit vishesato dharmo shilo raja lokapatir guru.
Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas, and sannyasis, should never come in contact with the 4 above-mentioned irreligious principles.
642. Rasasya nastam strin padan tapa shaucham dayam iti pratisandadha asvasya mahimcha samavadayat.
Thereafter, the king re-established the lost legs of the personality of religion, the bull, and by encouraging activities, he sufficiently improved the condition of the earth.
Text 43 and 44. Sa esha etarhya tyasta asanam partivochitam pita maheno panyastam ragna ranyam vikshata aste dunasa rajasi kauravendra shriyo lasan gaja vaye mahabhagas chakravati brahachravaha.
The most fortunate emperor Maharaj Parikshit, who was entrusted with the kingdom of Hastinapur by Maharaj Yudhishthir, when he desired to retire to the forest, is now ruling the world with great success due to his being glorified by the deeds of kings of the Kuru dynasty.
Text 45. Itam bhutanu bhavoyam abhimanyu suto nripaha yasya palaya kutha kshonim yuyam satraya dikshitaha.
Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, is so experienced that by dint of his expert administration and patronage, it has been possible for you to perform a sacrifice such as this.
Thank you very much. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for the beautiful recitations, Prabhuji and Mataji. So I've just spoken to Vrindavan Chandra Prabhuji, and he is just about to join us. So please bear with him while he logs in. Thank you. Hare Krishna. While waiting, I'll just recite the Maha Mantra. We can all recite together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sriji Kishori Mataji, for bearing with me. Just got back late today, so welcome, dear devotees, to today's chat session. I think you've done the recitation, so we'll now continue, and we're discussing chapter number 17 and verses 31 and 32 today. So if you just bear with me, the chapter is entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. I'm right, it is text 31 and 32, isn't it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So let me share my screen. So before we speak, I'll recite the Mangala Charanam praise. You can also join me, be unmuted mics. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashali Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, text number 31. Rajo Vacha Nate Guda Kesha Yashodaranam Nate Guda Kesha Yashodaranam Badha Anjale Vayam Ashtikinchit Navartitavyam Bhavata Katanchana Shetre Madiye Tvam Adharma Bandhu. Word for word synonyms. Raja Uvacha, the king said, now not. Te your Gudakesha Arjuna, Yasadharanam, of us who inherited the fame. Bada Anjale, one with folded hands. Vai, certainly, Bayam, fear, Asti, there is, Kinchit, even a slight, Na, neither, Vartitavyam, can be allowed to live. Bhavata, by you. Katanchana, by all means. Kshetra, in the land. Madiye, in my kingdom. Tvam, you. Adharma Bandhu, the friend of irreligion. Purport and translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The king thus said, we have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear for your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are the friend of irreligion. Purport. The personality of Kali, who is the friend of all kinds of irreligiosities, may be excused if he surrenders, but in all circumstances he cannot be allowed to live as a citizen in any part of a welfare state. The Pandavas were entrusted representatives of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who practically brought into being the battle of Kurukshetra, but not for any personal interest. He wanted an ideal king like Maharaj Yudhisthira and his descendants like Maharaj Parikshit to rule the world. And therefore a responsible king like Maharaj Parikshit could not allow the friend of irreligiosity to flourish in his kingdom at the cost of the good fame of the Pandavas. That is the way of wiping out corruption in the state, and not otherwise. The friends of irreligiosity should be banished from the state, and that will save the state from corruption. So, interesting verse. Uh, so the agent of Kali, or personification, when he was about to be punished means killed, by Parikshit Maharaj, he surrendered. And this is Maharaj Parikshit's response to the act of surrender. And Maharaj Parikshit says, "Thus we have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear for your life." Now, this is quite an extraordinary act by Parikshit Maharaj, because as Prabhupada says in the purport, this personality, he had instilled great pain on personification or representation of Dharma, and he deserved to be killed. But it is said that when one surrenders to a compassionate Vaishnav, despite any disqualifications that one may have, the nature of the Vaishnava is to be merciful. And we're seeing here Maharaj Parikshit being a great devotee of the Lord, a devotee even before he came out of the womb of his mother. He is showing this glorious quality of compassion. And we see this time and time again in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagai and Madai. They were the most sinful of sinful personalities. Madai, in fact, had committed the ultimate sin. And the ultimate sin is to offend a Vaishnav. And even in offending a Vaishnav, we can offend a Vaishnav by words, but the worst type of Vaishnav aparad is to inflict physical harm on a Vaishnav. That is completely intolerable. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was immediately ready to kill Madai. But Lord Nityananda, being very, very merciful, Lord Nityananda is a personification of all mercy. He told Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not to kill them because they are surrendering. And in this age of Kali, everyone is like Jagai and Madai. And if he was to kill them, then his whole mission would be spoiled. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, hearing Lord Nityananda's mercy, appreciating his compassion, he gave shelter to Jagai and Madai. There's also many other stories. There's also the story of Parasarabhata. Parasarabhata, he was one of the leading disciples of Sri Ramanujacharya. Actually, he became one of the acharyas once Sri Ramanujacharya had left. And once he was walking in the forest, and he came upon a very unusual sight. And the sight that he beheld was there was a hunter. And the hunter had caught a rabbit in his trap. And, when you catch an animal in the trap, at some point you have to release the animal from the trap, and then, they do whatever horrible things they have to do to the animal after that. So the hunter, he went to set loose the rabbit, And when he took the rabbit out of the trap, the rabbit started running around and around the hunter, and finally he rested his head on the foot of the hunter. And the hunter, his heart melted when that happened. And immediately he gave up any thought or consideration of killing the rabbit. And he started to showing signs of affection towards the rabbit. And when Parasarabhata saw that scene, he immediately fainted. Immediately fainted. And after some time, his disciples revived the spiritual master. And then they asked him, Gurudev, what happened there? Why did you faint? And he said, here is this cold, hard-hearted, heartless hunter who makes his livelihood from killing animals. And this rabbit surrendered to him, and he completely changed. He became so compassionate. He became so loving. Can you just imagine if we surrender to the most compassionate, loving personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna? How much will he be ready to give us shelter? And he was thinking about this particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Lord Krishna says, Sarva Dharmam Parityajya, just surrender unto me, give up all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. I will protect you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. And he was thinking, Lord Krishna, if one surrenders to him, how much shelter will he give? If this heartless hunter could do that, what about Lord Krishna? So that's quite instructive. When we think about our own lives, we are surrendering to so many, different people, our boss, our family members, to our own senses, but we never get any shelter. But when we surrender to a Vaishnav, there's also another story. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples in Bombay, he drifted away from the devotees. He used to go spend his day in the beach, and he used to smoke ganja. So news came to Srila Prabhupada that this devotee was doing this. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj told Prabhupada, this is what's happening with your disciple. Then Prabhupada said, you go and tell him now. You tell him that if he doesn't stop smoking ganja, I would reject him. I would reject him. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj went and did as Prabhupada had instructed, and then he came back. And then he asked Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, I've never heard you say before that you would reject any disciple. Was it your intention that if we didn't stop, you would reject him? And Prabhupada said, no, I would not have rejected him. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, but Prabhupada, surely there is some limit. There must be some limit beyond which you would reject a disciple. And Prabhupada said, there is no limit to the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And the spiritual master is the representative of Lord Nityananda. So this is quite amazing. And one final story. My Guru Maharaj says the story again. In Bombay, he said that Prabhupada was in his room and he was talking to many guests and disciples. And then suddenly in walked, a very unkept, like the laborers in India. They're very simply dressed. They're very like beaten. Their bodies look beaten from the sun. And you can see by nature that they are poor. So while Prabhupada was talking, this person walked up to Prabhupada's desk, placed a big bunch of flowers on Prabhupada's desk. He bowed down, turned around, and he walked out of the room without saying anything. And when this happened, Srila Prabhupada, he just stopped talking. And for some while, he just couldn't talk. He just wouldn't talk. He was just so affected by what this person did. Prabhupada's heart was just so soft. He was so affected. And he couldn't talk. He was just completely stunned. Because he felt so much of compassion for this very simple, in one sense, lowly person who came and offered him these flowers. So this is the nature of Vaishnav, and this is the nature of surrender. Now, the question may be raised, if all that I've just said is true, which it is, Parikshit Maharaj has given shelter. The agent of Kali had asked for shelter, and Parikshit Maharaj has given him shelter. But yet, he was banishing him from the kingdom. So was this some sort of qualified shelter that was being given? And the answer is yes. Firstly, because the surrender was qualified. This agent of Kali, he was not going to give up irreligiosity. That was his nature. So he had surrendered simply not to be killed. But it was not wholehearted surrender, as if he was surrendering like a disciple. Now I'm going to become a devotee. Now I will give up all sinful activities and I surrender to you completely. No. Kali's idea was he would still live in the kingdom. He would still act as how he acted. He simply wanted to be saved from being killed. So Maharaj Parikshit, he knew that. He was conscious of that. And being an ideal king, he was fully aware that if he allowed such agents to walk in his kingdom, then they would perpetuate some of the irreligiosity, and then the kingdom will be spoiled. As they used to say, the saying goes, one bad rotten apple can spoil all of the rest. And any of us who kept fruit in a basket, we know that. If there's something rotting there, you quickly take it away. Because if you leave it there, it spreads its rottenness very quickly. So Maharaj Parikshit, he didn't want this to happen. And he said, if he allowed this to happen, then the entire name of the Pandavas would be spoiled. They had gone through so much in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So much they went through just for the purpose of re-establishing Dharma. And there was no question of their name being tainted by now allowing this agent of Kali. And Prabhupada says in the last line, that is the way of wiping out the corruption in the state and not otherwise. So Prabhupada is saying here that the duty of the leaders is not to allow any bad elements to infiltrate. Therefore, even in a family, if there's bad elements, that family member is excommunicated. So it's a good lesson for us to learn. We should have compassion, but not compassion in the mode of ignorance. Not compassion in the mode of ignorance. Compassion in the mode of ignorance is that, we do not consider the wider implications when we do give shelter to anyone. Any questions or comments on that before we move on to the next verse? Unfortunately, we've got a Bhadra Srimad Bhagavatam team meeting at 8:30. I'll have to leave at 8:30. But feel free, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to make it for this verse. It's verse 32. From
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Prabhu, I have a question related Bhadra campaign.
Uh-huh.
Is it okay?
Okay.
Because, one of my friends, she wanted to sponsor Bhagavatam to Africa. But, she wants to do it 9th of September on the Bhadra Purnima. But, then on that, you have to donate somebody with a golden throne and things. So do we do it for African Bhagavatam? Or how does it work? Will you please explain that?
I'm not sure if they got golden thrones in Africa for whoever.
Okay.
But personally, if they donate the Bhagavatam,
yeah,
the feeling, my personal feeling is they'll get the same benefit. Yeah, they'll get the benefits. So we can talk about it later.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I'll talk to you personally.
Okay.
So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Text number 32. Tvam varta manam naradeva deshu anu pravritto yam adharma pugaha labhon ritam charyum anaryam hamo jeshta chamaya kalahas chadhambaha. So translation. If the personality of Kali, irreligion, is allowed to act as a man-god or as an executive head, certainly irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, incivility, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, and vanity will abound. Report. The principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, as we have already discussed, may be followed by the follower of any faith. There is no need to turn from Hindu to Mohammedan to Christian or any or some other faith and thus become a renegade and not follow the principles of religion. The Bhagavatam religion urges following the principles of religion. The principles of religion are not the dogmas or regulative principles of a certain faith. Such regulative principles may be different in terms of the time and place concerned. One has to see whether the aims of religion have been achieved. Sticking to the dogmas and formulas without attaining the real principles is not good. A secular state may be impartial to any particular type of faith, But the state cannot be indifferent to the principles of religion as above mentioned. But in the age of Kali, the executive heads of state will be indifferent to such religious principles, and therefore under their patronage, the opponents of religious principles such as greed, falsehood, cheating, and pilfery will naturally follow. And so there will be no meaning to propaganda crying to stop corruption in the state. A brilliant purport by Srila Prabhupada. And the essence of this verse is Maharaj Parikshit is qualifying why he cannot allow Kali to stay in the kingdom. And it's interesting how Prabhupada uses the word man-god or an executive. And Prabhupada is saying something very important here. He says, religion without following the principles of religion is just meaningless. And it is said, Dharma, or religion, stands on 4 legs: austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. Intoxication kills austerity. Illicit sex kills cleanliness. Eating meat kills mercy. And gambling kills truthfulness. And these are the pillars of Dharma. So no matter, Prabhupada is saying, no matter whether you're Hindu, Mohammedan, or Christian, you should follow, one should be following the principles of religion. Austerity, cleanliness, and any of these activities I just mentioned, meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and truthfulness, one cannot even say one is on proper perception. You cannot even claim to be on the human platform, civilized human platform. So, Prabhupada says you can follow all types of dogmas or regulative principles, but if you're not following these basic principles, it's useless, completely useless. So any head of state, as Prabhupada says here, they should be following the 4 regulative principles. If they're not, Prabhupada says there's no meaning to propaganda crying to stop corruption in the state. So an executive of the state, he may cry and moan and groan and say, we will eliminate corruption. Corruption is a disease. But you can't. Where will there be truthfulness? Where will there be stop to corruption if there's no truthfulness? And where can there be truthfulness if irreligious principles are adopted? Okay, I'll stop here. Devotees, has anyone got any comments, questions, corrections, reflections?
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan, Chandra Prabhuji. My humble obeisances unto you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for a wonderful class after a long time. It's very nice to hear you. Prabhuji, when Parikshit Maharaj decided not to kill Kali, is it like we can apply the principle that everything happens by the will of God, so will of Krishna. So must be Krishna, because I was thinking that if Parikshit Maharaj had killed Kali, then we would not face so many things happening in the world, because it's Kali Yuga, that's why it's happening. So if he had killed, then it wouldn't have happened. But on the other side, it's Krishna's will that Satya Yuga and Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Kali Yuga comes in cycles and annihilation takes place. So by Krishna's will, it must be like that's why he didn't kill, and he told Kali to be in certain places, kind of, and he showed mercy, but again he didn't kill. So I was thinking like that. Is that true?
Yes, Mataji. As Prabhupada says, not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna.
Yes. Hare
Even in the Bhagavatam, when Maharaj Parikshit put the death snake around the neck of Samiki Rishi, Prabhupada writes in the purport that what Maharaj Parikshit did was very uncharacteristic. And the only conclusion that we can draw is that this incident happened by the will and direction of Lord Krishna, so that Srimad Bhagavatam could be spoken to Parikshit Maharaj. So it's true. It's the arrangement of Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Chandra, Prabhu, thank you for a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
I'll make it very quick. I know you have a meeting to. So, where can we know where the true balance is between compassion and what's the word? Ignorant compassion, perhaps. I think Prabhupada in one of his purports earlier, when Draupadi showed compassion to Abhimanyu, to Ashwastama, he's quite critical of Draupadi's compassion, because Ashwastama then goes on to try and kill Parikshit Maharaj, having just been given compassionate life from Draupadi. If one is compassionate to the extent where the individual continues to commit further harm and Vaishnava aparadhas, how do you know where the balance lies? You know, we're clearly not elevated souls like Parikshit Maharaj, where there is Krishna's direct intervention going on in our day-to-day practices. How do you know how much compassion is the right amount compared to being foolish?
Actually, it's a very interesting question that you ask. And we can only get the balance right if there's purity of heart. Like, you know, when Kunti Devi asked the Pandavas, 5 of them, to marry Draupadi, Maharaj Yudhishthir, he said, although this would have ordinarily been considered a irreligious act, he didn't feel any reservation about it. And different acharyas have said, when there's purity of heart, then one will automatically know what is best for dharma. Therefore, to get the balance right, we have to be pure in heart, or consult those who are pure in heart. And then we will know how to place compassion. And that could be for anything in our spiritual lives, actually. That's my thought, Prabhu. I'm not sure if that's...
Thank you. Yes, purity is of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your committed and regular participation. My sincere apologies that I've not been able to, conduct my service recently, but I've got the opportunity again. Thank you. All glories to your service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Go Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.